Welcome to writingalong.com. Today's episode is all about how to write persuasively, which isn't just ethos, pathos, logos, and all these higher level concepts. Really, it's just kind of understanding what the reader is coming, like where they're coming from. What's the context that they're finding you? Are you having just a message you're writing on some social media platform? Are you creating a essay to rail against something that you don't like in the world? Are you simply writing this down on your phone? Now, like, what are you doing with your writing? Where is it located? And how is it going to be read? How is it going to be received? How are people going to find it? Because where your reader finds this content, where your reader finds this information, this writing that you've created, is going to influence how they respond and how they react to it. Because it's how they respond and react to everything else where they're finding it is also going to determine, again, this kind of connection, this interconnection. It's like interwoven. If you write an essay, and inherently that stands for something on its own. You want your writing to speak before anyone even reads it. You want it to just kind of create an impactful resonance before they even get into the content, where they're already not on defense, but they have to kind of surrender themselves. They have to put their guards down and think, wow, this person invested something into what they said. And that might just be a sentence. I mean, that just might be depending on where you are in your life and the context of your own authority and positioning. If you were a person of incredible power in just any scenario and situation, and you wrote a sentence, if you wrote a word, if you just wrote no, you don't have to punctuate it. And that can have a massive, tremendous influence of persuasion among that sphere of people, among, for certain world leaders, right, internationally. Who knows? How many emails do you think were responded to? Just something like that. Little arguments. No. Or should we do it? No, we should not enact that policy. You don't have to have this, entourage, this backpack, this symphony of reasons. It doesn't matter. It really comes down to, where are you coming from? Where are these people? How are they finding you? How are they seeing you? And when you have this kind of aura, this air, not this spiritual aura that you can't exactly see or touch, that we're not going to elaborate on that here because it's not really practical for this right now. I just mean, if you wrote an essay to someone, if someone was really upset at you about something because they conflict of beliefs, something different, and you wrote a letter to an essay, they're going to have to take a step or two back. They might wonder, what is this? I'm not going to read this, but in their minds, inherently, something is already happening where they put in this much intention, they put in this much effort to what they believe in, and you put in this much. If you care enough, and if you convey that and communicate it, you have to align those things. How much do you care about what you are trying to say? Really, how much intention are you willing to invest into it? If you ride those two to the top, you will have effective writing. The threshold looks different all the time. Like I said, a single sentence can go a long way. But let's say you really are upset about something in the world, just the way it is, the way it's going on, the way no one really cares. How many people are just having conversations? They're sitting down on couches in their homes, or just, I don't know, wherever the hell they are. And they're just like, I don't like this. Yeah, I don't like that because of this. This person this person that. All these criticisms, all these just objections. And let's be in the YouTube comment section to some extent on certain videos. It gets a little crazy sometimes, but it's just people, anonymous. They don't have their faces to their profile and just railing against things. And it's just kind of noise. Nothing's really happening there. What if you wrote a book in response to something in the world that is, causing some issues? That stands out. You really cared about that. You dedicated an era of your life, not just 2 minutes, like in the context of this threshold, but what everyone else is doing. No, you weren't just thinking about it. You weren't just, floating around. I don't care. I guess I'm concerned. I guess I'm not. You wrote a book, and people see that. They don't even open it, and they're like, wow, this person really means something. They're coming from somewhere that I kind of have to listen and go, okay, what are they saying? I guess I have to listen, right? I didn't write a book, and I'm not going to write a book in response to them. Checkmate. You've made a move there, and that's what your writing can do. Also, another element of this, because people are maybe thinking, I want to write something that convinces someone how to do this, how to do that. You want to make your reader, this veers a little bit differently from creative writing, but not, follow me here, okay? When you want someone to align and subscribe to the same ideas that you have and see your perspectives, you really want them to come to those conclusions on their own. You want to provide examples for them to see this. So if you did write that essay, if you did write that book, intentionality often requires you to consider the person listening. Also, are they just going to be open to anything? Do you have a track record of being heard by them? If you're in a conflict like this, you may want, again, to prioritize letting them realize it themselves by using examples that don't spell it out for them. Don't treat your reader like they're stupid. Don't write to them like they're lacking in the intelligence department. Maybe they are. They're gonna feel that you're attacking them in another way. And what's the response to that? If you're already in an argument, a foolish argument, they're gonna come right back at you with something else. And they're not even gonna attack your points. They're just gonna be attacking this kind of invisible layer where you're already kind of dejecting them, neglecting them as a human being, as a conscious decision-making person. You want to actually respect the other person, respect the other people. Don't just attacking is not persuasive. It's a means of force. Unless you have an army behind you, unless you don't care about explaining yourself, and you don't want a sustainable solution, like sustainable writing. It's pretty sustainable, writing something when you feel something, as opposed to just beating someone to a bloody death, like a country or an army or something like that. Sometimes, like I said, just a simple sentence, a simple essay, it's just a couple paragraphs, goes a really long way when you acknowledge the other person as capable of hearing and understanding your ideas. They're gonna feel like, wow, this person is, I like what they're saying. They don't even know what you're saying. Maybe they don't fully. They don't understand all your reasons, but they do understand that you're taking them seriously. If the person you're trying to persuade, or this group of people you're trying to persuade, isn't taking you seriously, be the bigger person. Take them. And they'll have to do the same. If they don't, they'll leave. How are they going to react to that? How is someone who is just, completely in disagreement with you, how are they going to react when you take them seriously? When you say, I don't... I feel like you'd be capable of seeing and understanding this for yourself. I don't gotta spell everything for you. I don't gotta say this is the reason, this is the reason, this is the reason. I can just give a few examples that caused me to think like this, that caused you to think like this. Give the reasons that caused you to come to the realizations you have. And you don't have to say this is why. It should be self-evident. I really am making this video because there's this episode in general. It doesn't always get read, but when big decisions are made internationally, usually these world leaders, people make fun of them all over the networks, and maybe their actions really are just heinous and just cruel, just brutal. You don't have to support them at all, but most of the time there's some kind of reasoning behind it. There's some kind of, intention that they brought to the table. And if someone else brings something to the table like that, it influences people. It has a larger influence until another force like that, greater, exceeds that threshold, is met with it. And most people aren't going to meet that threshold. They're just not. And that's where, as a writer, you possess this ability that it's not unearthly, because it's taking place here on Earth, right? But it is a little above and beyond ourselves. It's beyond me. It's beyond you. It's something outside of ourselves that we're just kind of almost like borrowing as a skill, as an ability. It's a little, I don't want to say it's unfair in the world, but if you're a writer and you're interested in writing persuasively, it's really powerful, and you're kind of unstoppable with it. You really want to realize that people have been burned at the stake for things that they've written. And they've had a shockwave across the earth. Entire countries are founded on certain principles of stuff that people have just written. They don't even have to be laws. I just mean vague ideas. They didn't even clearly define them all. but they instilled in others, oh, that kind of makes sense, you know. And the reader says, wow, I understand that all on my own. So they're not just trying to sell me something here. Like they're coming from a place that, what, wow, there must be something to this, you know. And once you get your reader there, it you're unstoppable in terms of persuasive writing. Make your reader feel respected, make them feel heard, make them feel like a human being, make them feel like you're how you would want to treat yourself, not just for the sake of it, not just, oh, the golden rule goes a long way. No, I mean, don't just fake it either. Do it because the person on the other side, the person that you're trying to persuade, the people you are trying to persuade, do have mental faculties that are capable of understanding what you've come to. And if they come back at you with something equal, that's going to spark a discussion. Take that as an opportunity, because maybe you might get persuaded in certain ways too. You might open your eyes to things you haven't seen before. And guess what? If they don't meet that threshold, you might have just persuaded them. They're not coming back at you with something equal. And that's, as a writer, it's like it's a superpower. It's an ability that is pretty transcendent, and it's not too out there. It's not too abstract. It's not unreachable or anything. If you're interested in writing a book, it doesn't have to be a manifesto. I just mean any kind of book. Check it out at writingalong.com. This guide I give away completely free. I send it to your inbox, and it sits there, it haunts there until you write your book, because you have something to say. All right, I'll see you around, and thanks for checking in on this episode.